Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes. Might be a little longer than 5 today. Brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Right on Long Island, serving the entire tri-state area. And, of course, your go-to place to make sure that your home can stand up to adverse weather and you're protected. Their phone number is 631-756-1125 for the best prices anywhere. OmniTrueValue.com is the website. All right, we're going to get the short term out of the way because that's pretty easy. You'll see on the satellite loop, obviously, where Nicole is off the Florida coast. We've got a lot of action going on in the west, and that's going to be part of the equation for the end of the week. In the meantime, a big chilly high has built into the eastern U.S., particularly in the Great Lakes and Northeast, and that high is pressing southward to sunny skies all the way down into North Florida. Starting to see some clouds streaming in from the northeast, and that's ahead of Nicole, of course. And we've got precip and heavy snows that are moving up into the northern plains, and also a big storm out in the west that is moving eastward. So a very active weather pattern that we have at the moment. And here's the radar, nice and quiet, will remain there like that all day. Temperatures today not getting out of the 50s. And we have a cold night tonight with lows down in the 20s in many inland areas in the northeast. And lows in the warmer urban centers and along the coast will be down in the middle 30s. Another nice day for tomorrow. Another Thursday, I think we'll see sunshine, maybe start to give way to some arriving clouds late in the day. And the other big story is this big storm that's coming into California with heavy rains up and down the state. So good news there with the dry conditions, particularly with what we're seeing down further to the south. And you see some of the snow that's going on in parts of the northern plains. Okay, so let's now shift our attention to Nicole. Now was a subtropical storm earlier this morning, now a tropical storm as it's completed its transition into a warm core system, 27.8 north, 72.7 west, and that's about a little less than 400, maybe about 400 or so miles east of the Florida East Coast. Let's say east of Palm Beach, Florida, a little over 400 miles east of Palm Beach, Florida. The Hurricane Center forecasting this to become a hurricane as it moves through the northwest Bahamas, where we have hurricane warnings. And now we have hurricane warnings up for the Florida East Coast, up to the Volusia Brevard County line. Tropical storm warnings extended now northward past Jacksonville into southeastern Georgia, and watches extend into the coast of South Carolina. And I would expect to see those warnings and watches get pushed further to the north as we get closer to this. Watching this whole thing evolve is going to be quite interesting and rather fascinating. So here's the satellite loop of Nicole from overnight. And I'm going to give it a quick refresh in a moment. And you notice quite a difference from yesterday where we had this elongated mess with a exposed circulation. Now that circulation is under this blowing up area of thunderstorms that you see. Certainly has much more of a tropical look to it. And now as we just freshen it up so that you can see the visible, it continues to organize. And the other thing that's happened is that it has now turned more toward the west. And we may actually see this turn a little bit southwest for a while late today into Wednesday before it turns to the west again and makes its way toward the Florida East Coast. And here's the floater image, and what you're seeing here with the greens, that is thunderstorm lightning strikes, and we're seeing those lightning strikes now occurring very much near where the center is. The southern part of the center is still kind of exposed a little bit, but most of the center is now tucked into those thunderstorms, so you can expect this to continue to develop. Now, the intensity guidance showing many of the models get this at least close to a Category 1 hurricane. Certainly a chance here we could see that get there. I don't think it's going to get beyond that. Sometimes these systems that start off as sort of cold core systems, they don't strengthen as quickly and don't reach the peak intensities that the pure tropical systems do. There are exceptions to that, but given everything that's going on, I think we could certainly see this get to a Category 1 hurricane. I don't think it really gets much beyond that. And as far as some of the guidance that we're looking from overnight, say the ensemble guidance, for example, the black line is the average position of all the members, and you see how the spread's actually not that wide. It's also come more to the left, so the mean track is just offshore the New Jersey and to Long Island and to southeastern New England. Thinking maybe it might be a little bit further west than that. It's tough to say at this point. The hurricane track model guidance has been kind of moving in that direction. You see most of the tracks are clustered along or just inland of the coast. And this is the two things that are important here with regards to what the weather is going to be for later Friday into early Saturday when we have to deal with this, is whether there's going to be a surviving core of Nicole that moves up and interacts with this cold front that's coming in from the west, in which case we could wind up with some pretty hefty rainfalls and also may have to deal with a little bit of wind. The other option is that, and this is the option that the Hurricane Center is going with, we saw here on the map, the S is in white sitting there in northwest Connecticut. So if we just sort of draw a line on their track from here to here, at some point it suggests the Hurricane Center is thinking that it's going to go post-tropical and probably get maybe absorbed by that cold front that is approaching, in which case we'll get the rain, and there might be some heavy rain with that, but it may not be crazy rainfall amounts. Let's put it in those terms. So here's what we're looking at. This is the brand new GFS that is just out, and it takes that southwest move toward the Bahamas, then turns westerly again, gets the pressure down low enough where it would probably be a minimal hurricane. Pressure right now is at 992 millibars on the last recon. It gets it down to about an 86, 87 pressure, so it really doesn't strengthen it too much, but we saw what happened with Ian. Not that I think we're going to get anything like that, but we just want to keep our eyes on it and see what happens as it approaches the coast. I'm thinking a Category 1 hurricane making landfall someplace north of Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. From there northward, I think that's the highest risk. Meanwhile, you see how nice it is up in the nice and dry in the east into Thursday. Then it may even emerge out on the west coast for a brief time north of Tampa near the Florida Big Bend before it makes the turn northeastward. Very sharp turn there, going into the Florida Panhandle and then turning northeastward and bringing the rain up the coastline. The new GFS suggests that the core part of the system, which is represented by the low that you see in central North Carolina, winds up basically getting absorbed by this approaching cold front that is moving eastward. So we do get some rain coming in Friday afternoon into Friday night. A couple of bands of heavy rain work their way through. By Saturday morning, the back edge is from about Albany to New York City, and then it moves away to the northeast. But this is not the only solution that we could get out of this. If we see a core that survives, the operational runs seem to be to the left of where the other model runs are, which are further to the east. So that's really what we're going to have to work on in terms of figuring this all out. And once this goes by, we are going to get into a colder than normal temperature pattern that's going to be around for a while. In fact, there's a second little low that forms with a chilly rain for Sunday. I don't know exactly how real this is, but this might be the mechanism to bring down another cold high from the north for the first part of next week. And I think this cold pattern that's coming in is going to hang around for quite a while. Weather in 5 brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the phone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. So enjoy the big change. The record highs and the temperatures up near 80 degrees are over with. The Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight, 7:35 Eastern Time. So we'll be going through everything with Nicole, the impacts on the northeast and mid-Atlantic states, and of course the impacts for Florida and the southeast. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about the weekend and the rather cold-looking long range. So we'll see you then.